My SanDisk USB flash drive shows that 43 GB is used when I just copied a 10 GB folder after formatting. I recently bought a SanDisk 128 GB USB flash drive, and after formatting the USB flash drive in exFAT format, I copied a folder whose capacity is around 10 GB. There are lots of small files in it, so it took some time. However, when I see in the Windows Explorer after copying the folder, it says that around 43 GB of the storage is occupied and now only 70 GB of the storage is free to use. What is happening and how should I deal with it? Is my USB flash drive physically broken? It is still weird because when I copied a single file with 7 GB capacity, it showed the remaining capacity correctly at around 110 GB available.
You already answered your own question. There are lots of small files in it. Every file on an exFAT volume takes at least 1 block size. So a file of a single byte in size takes at least 4 Ka, a size amplification of 1:4096. You are saying a size amplification of 4.3, which is very plausible with lots of small files. You can check this hypothesis by packing the files with WinRAR and the zero compression settings, then copy this file to the USB stick.
When formatting as exFAT, you almost surely chose some large allocation unit, block size, like 128K or 512K. Reformat with the standard 4K allocation units and the problem should go away.
Why is this happening? Because you're storing a lot of tiny files. File systems have a minimum file size that they can store. For NTFS file systems, it's usually 4 KB. For exFAT, it can be much larger. That's called the block or cluster size. Files that are smaller than this size will still use up the minimum size, so a 1 KB file might use 4 KB of disk space. A 3 KB file would also use 4 KB of disk space. If you have a 5 KB file, it'll use 8 KB of disk space. You can imagine it like a grid of holes. Each hole can hold a certain amount of data. Files are spread across as many holes as necessary to hold all the file's data, but holes can't have data from more than one file. So, if a file's data doesn't completely fill a hole, some of that space is wasted. No other file can use that hole, so the unused space is unavailable. What can you do about it? In your case, you have a lot of files that don't fill the holes, so there's lots of wasted space. If you were to put all the files into a zip file, then all that data would be contained in a single file, and it would use a lot less space on the drive. Some USB drives are formatted as exFAT by default, so alternatively, if you're just using this drive to copy files between Windows computers or just for storage, you could try reformatting the drive as NTFS, but copy all the files off first, obviously, to try to get a smaller cluster size.
As the other answer suggested, use an archiver, but I'll recommend using 7Z instead of WinRAR because it's free, and also you can avoid installing any third-party archivers if you use Windows built-in. Send to is greater than compressed, zip, folder option when you right-click Files and Folder. It's faster than 7Z, but it archives slightly slower. In case you need to store mostly JPEG images or something else that doesn't compress at all, you should benefit from using 7Z and picking the No Compression option explicitly. Using .zip archive format over .rar or .7z is important because Windows supports browsing them as if it was just any other folder, albeit with some limitations. If you are okay with not being able to browse files like that on the flash drive, you can use another format, but the important part about the files not taking so much space is having a single archive file instead of all the original files separately.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.